am I as fit in my 60s as I was in my 30s?
It's encouraging.
I'm attempting to complete a route I helped to pioneer.
Scotland coast to coast and back in one weekend. Coast to coast to coast in just 2 days on a gravel bike. This is the first bit of shelter I've seen.
Mostly off-road through some of the wildest landscape in this country.
Okay, school, now pay attention at the back.
The last time was with a group of friends and we published the story in Mountain Biking UK. This time I'm solo.
I've done it before, but that was 26 years ago. Can I do it again? Genuinely not sure. That's deep, keep going. Do not stop. God.
Mountain Biking UK published my story and photos of this ride. Over the years, people have stumbled across old copies and contacted me for details. It subsequently appeared in guidebooks. The Highland Trail 550 now follows a section. It has had an interesting life, but am I still up to it?
Obviously, people have been using routes here to cross Scotland for generations, cattle herders and the like. But back in '96, we had no idea whether it could be mountain biked, whether it had been mountain biked, with no internet and no real guidebooks. We were just pioneering.
And completely by accident, we stumbled across the famous Croik Church.
If you don't know the story, in 1845, many of the people of Glencalvy were evicted by the landowners to make way for sheep farming, and they sheltered here in the churchyard until they eventually had to go. And there was a Times reporter here at the time, and he described their plight in moving words to the whole nation. But the most poignant reminders are scratched with nails and what have you into the windows of this church. Yeah, the sad thing is they had to lock it during lockdown and the pandemic, and no one had the key, so they had to put in a new lock, and it seems the insurers now insist they keep the church shut, so you can't see those inscriptions, which is a huge shame. They must be worried about the bell tower falling down because they've also got fencing up to stop you getting too close. Having got this far and having got soaked through, I'm kind of wondering about the wisdom now of heading out into the hills. I think I'm going to go so far and then reappraise the situation. It's encouraging.
Let's take a look at where I am, where I'm heading, and what my route options are. We're in the north of Scotland, the thin bit, and I'm hoping to ride from Bonar Bridge on the east coast to Ullapool on the west, off-road as much as possible. This has now become the standard route through here, but we didn't know that in 1996. We started that way, but on the outward ride took a more challenging route. This is now part of the Highland 550. To reach Ullapool, we rejoined the Land Rover track, and we used it again the next day, then took the easier route past Knockdamph Bothy. Rather than retrace our start, we rode out to Oikel Bridge, which is tidal, so arguably on the east coast, and then took the road back to Bonar Bridge. This is the route I'm attempting to follow once again.
This is the first bit of shelter I've seen. I've got something going on my brakes that I want to check. I also want to have a look at the map. I want to see what my options are.
I wasn't the only one finding the conditions tough.
It's all coming back to me now from 1996. There were a heck of a lot of gates on this route. A heck of a lot. Some which we couldn't get through and we had to actually climb over. Just as I thought things were clearing, we're descending at the valley and the fog seems to be lingering. And this must be the schoolhouse bothy. That's all right, isn't it? Okay, school, now pay attention at the back. This route is essentially 2 figure of 8s, a big one and a little one, with a tail. Bonar Bridge is here, and Ullapool is here. And currently, I'm there. I've ridden the off-road bit there. I could now return along the road that way, and that is the way I plan to go out. Because the idea is to make this route so you don't have to retrace your steps. So my idea is to do that, then this, which is the hardest bit, there, and then into Ullapool, come back from Ullapool that way. The trouble is, on this section here, there is a river crossing. And looking at the water out there, that could be very difficult indeed. When I last did it with a bunch of guys, we were up almost to our waists, and I really don't fancy being like that by myself. Right, let's go and have a look at this burn.
It adds 3 miles to today, but I decide to check the river level rather than commit and find myself unable to cross tomorrow.
And this is it. This is the Pobberley Burn. I can't say I remember it, to be honest.
And it looks easy to cross. I'll be fine tomorrow.
Truth is, I'm a little bit surprised at how slow the going is on here. Just over 5 hours, and I had expected to be in Ullapool at this time. As it is, I'm 3/4 of the way in distance, and the really hard bit is just ahead. And this is the awkward bit, because we go from these big roads to single track. All along I've wondered how the gravel bike's going to cope with this. This is not really the time of day to be finding out, but needs must. Oh, too buggy. Oh, we're heading somewhere down there. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, this is mountain bike territory, not gravel bike. Definitely brought a knife to a gunfight.
This is the hardest section, downhill single track linking 2 glens, and it would be even harder in the other direction.
I think it's human nature to kind of block out bad things. And I remember that as far more rideable. Today that was just about all hiker bike. But funny things are sort of flashing back to me. And one of the things is finding a way across the head of that loch. The other thing I remember is we arrived so late into Ullapool at the hostel that the warden there was all set to call the mountain rescue. I think I underestimated this route then, and I've definitely underestimated it today.
As a result, my plan is changing. I'm carrying bivvy camping equipment, stove, sleeping bag, the works, but I'll be too late into Ullapool to eat, resupply and get back into the hills before dark and before the rain starts.
Oh.
And I'm soaked through. Half an hour before sunset, I reach Ullapool.
Do you know what? I'm going to stay here, I think.
I buy some food and decide to stay in the Scottish Youth Hostel, which thankfully had an available room.
There's actually something rather circular and synchronous about ending up in a hostel tonight, even though I had planned a bivvy. And that is because when we did this in 1996, we stayed in a hostel. It wasn't this youth hostel, it was another one that's long gone, but still. Right, here we go again.
The Highland Trail 550 has a different way out of Ullapool, but I don't know what that's like, and I'm trying to save my energy. I came down this way last night, so I'm just going to return the way I came, even though it's less than attractive.
I won't hold my breath, not a kid anymore. If things don't go my way, I'll just move along, waiting for something that may not arrive. I'd rather be free than chained up and tied. Love me like I love you. Need me, 'cause I'm always needing you. Hurt me, and you pay the price. I'm done with all these lies. Loving you, that's all I'm gonna do.
I've been thinking more about why I bottled the bivvy in favour of the hostel.
Perhaps it's age. Perhaps as I've got older, I have lost a bit of that ability to put on wet clothes and go again, to put up with the ache, just to lie down, sleep, and go.
That said, it was the pragmatic and safer choice, regardless of my age.
The reason they're making a heck of a racket is about to appear here. They think they're going to get breakfast. Hi.
Morning.
I'll get past you, otherwise I'll put them off.
No bother.
Breakfast call?
Moving them over there.
Alright, okay.
It's a lie.
Said, was that breakfast? Nah, I'm just moving them. It's a con, it's a lie. Back passing through the area of East Rodorick Lodge. And the advantage of having done this yesterday is that I know what's coming. But the disadvantage of having done this yesterday is I know what's coming. And I feel more like a bloody paddle. Oh, a big hole. That's over my feet. That's the first of many. Wow. It's tempting to put your backside on the saddle and just try to power your way up these. And I quite possibly could. The problem with that is it's only just as fast as walking, but it takes an awful lot more energy. And I think that's energy I will need later on in these long days. I've just realised I'm now past the point where I joined yesterday. There's the loch. Couldn't see all this in the mist before. So I'm now on the road to Knockdamp. And interestingly, it is a road, because on the Ordnance Survey map it's marked as a black dashed line, which I usually take to mean you can't ride it, but if you can, fantastic, it's a bonus. God almighty, that's deep, keep going, do not stop. Oh, God. Oh, that was insane. Gotta go back to the drone now.
My memory is that this section of track was hiker bike when we first did it, and we had to wade through parts of the overflowing loch.
I'm having second thoughts about what this route might have been like, you know, 96, because I'm so close to the loch side. I'm kind of thinking that maybe this track was here and it was just submerged because there was an awful lot of water around then, and the loch was higher, hence the need to wade on the way out. So maybe it was here. Memory. It's not what it was. Most bothies have a bothy book. This was new August the 22nd, 2022.
And there's something coast to coast MTB.
It's interesting how this has become kind of like an established route now, this coast to coast for mountain bikes. Oh no, this is the room I remember. I took a photograph of Alistair and Steve Wade looking at a map about here using the light from the window, and I can't remember whether that was just me posing them or whether we were actually changing the route and deciding that we would go back from towards Oikel Bridge and then on the road, because we didn't want to go out the same way that we came in.
And Knockdamph had inspired our original adventure. We saw the name on a road atlas with no roads anywhere near, so we dug out the OS maps to see if we could ride here.
Right, well, if it's another 26 years before I'm back, I'll be 90. I'm kind of thinking that might not happen. Goodbye, Knockdamph. You know what, if you do this without waterproof socks, you're mad.
Although they wouldn't help much with what comes next.
You might remember this from yesterday's, the Pobberley Burn. I remember this from all those years ago, because when we crossed here, the water was up to our, shall we say, sensitive regions. The fact is, I could actually probably have ridden across there today. It is so low, but it gives you an idea how things can change here very quickly when we get a bit of rain. There we go. Didn't even reach my knees. I'm going to quickly say thank you to all members of the channel, but in particular to the production crew and the adventure crew who support me just that little bit more. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to know more, click the join button below any video, although not on an iPhone, and I will pop up and tell you about the 3 levels of membership. It's really about just giving me the encouragement and support, and for that I thank you.
I'm now back at the schoolhouse bothy, and while the really wild riding is done, I'm only halfway through today's 40-mile ride. But the better surfaces will make the second half much faster. Because the tide reaches Oikel Bridge, you could argue I'd already crossed Scotland, but, well, not really.
Let's just use this last section to talk a little bit about the routes. If you want to have a go at the Cross Scotland one way, then I would do it from Ullapool to Bonner Bridge. The start that I did this morning was much nicer, and I think the route feels better. I would follow it as far as the schoolhouse bothy, and then I would use the off-road route out to Croik Church, and then the minor road to Bonner Bridge, the way I came in yesterday. But if you really want to test yourself, have a go at the Cross Scotland and back in a weekend. It was tough when I did it 26 years ago, and it hasn't got any easier.
If you're enjoying this, please share the video on social media and help the channel grow, plus all the usual stuff about thumbs up and subscribing, you know the drill. There's a final flourish to our route, including a castle that used to be a youth hostel and a spectacular bridge crossing that is part of National Cycle Network Route 1, the North Sea coast. You'll find commute maps and downloadable GPS files linked in the video description. The most noticeable difference in fitness over the last 26 years was recovery time. It took around 10 days to get over this one, plus the driving.
And there through the trees is the other coast, the east coast of Scotland.
Now this is a much longer video than I usually make, so let me know whether it's too long in the comments please. I hope you've enjoyed it because it took a lot of effort. And I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.